Okay guys, back on the 95 Nissan 3-liter V6 overhaul. I am doing the head again. On the last video you saw me kind of fight trying to get the valve springs out. I ended up buying, AutoZone didn't have what I needed, so I bought a standard C-clamp and I took my grinder, some cut-off wheels, and made this. The problem is, it worked on one, however, let me drag this one over. This is one I have not pulled the valves on yet. I'm not really going to show you how to do it. I'm just going to show you the problems I had, I guess. One thing is they don't like to stand up by themselves real well, obviously. So I could get on here like this. Make sure you're seeing what I'm looking at. I can't really tell. I'm at a really funny angle. There's so much garbage here in my garage. I just can't move stuff around, including, not limited to, tripod. Anyway, it ran around here fine. That wasn't the issue. But when I collapsed it, I could only go so far down, and the side of the housing got in the way. So I couldn't collapse it enough to get it apart. It only let me go down not even quarter of an inch. So that didn't work. So I tried reaching across. In this case, I could do the end ones. That wasn't the problem. The end ones on the intake and exhaust was actually doable. Really close on the intake side, but I could do it. But I couldn't get to the middle one. So I tried reaching all the way across like this, and it just won't reach far enough. So I ended up going to the shop and got Big Mama. Now here's the problem with that. I did not build this for this particular application. I built it for something completely different. And it's big. It is a huge C-clamp. I don't know what size it is. It's 78-410 made by Armstrong. I don't even remember where it came from. I had welded an old wrench, metric wrench. It came with an old lathe we had on it. Well, because I didn't really want to modify this. So the problem is, it's too far. The angle, it gets too far off, and it really twists the spring at an angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grind those welds out and notch this out. I will probably never use this for anything else. And if I do, it's still usable as a C-clamp. It's just you got to be careful with how much, what you put on the end of it there. That's not. But this thing is so big. I don't think I'll ever use it for anything else. I don't even remember how I ended up over at the shop. So I obviously didn't need it here anymore. I must have used it over there for something. I just don't remember what it was. So anyway, with that said, with the big one, I did get it apart. I just didn't like what it did, the angles of everything and stuff. So I will probably remodify my modified one and go from there. What I'm doing today, however, and it took a few days, A, I had to work, and B, they didn't have any in stock, and then they didn't have any again today when I come in, so I ordered 2 little bottles of valve grinding compound. They do make different grits of this. They make a pretty heavy, they make a medium, and then they made one that's basically for polish. And the unfortunate part about it is this is the only one they could have. Clover makes a bunch of it. If you do this a lot, I would recommend buying the good stuff offline. This is not something I'm going to be doing all the time. I wasn't even really planning on doing to this. There just was no option. These valves are in bad shape. I understand now why I had such a wide swing on the compression ratios, on a compression test. That's what I meant. I think one of them was like 170, one was 145, then was 120 something, and I had to do it 2 or 3 times, and I had 0 and a 1, which I still think it sucked something inside one of the intake valves. But because there was dust or dirt, actually debris on top of every one of the pistons. Nothing looked like it hurt anything. It was just something was obviously not allowing that valve to close. But I'm just going to randomly pick this first one, and I have these somewhat numbered, believe it or not. I know it doesn't look like it, but this thing laying down, the distributor, this is the driver's side. The distributor's facing forward. I got these in line. That's forward, so I've got intake, and exhaust on this side. So it's not like I don't have them in any particular order. Make sure you're still looking at anything that I'm talking about. Yeah, you can see valves and springs laying up here. I kind of piled everything up. I've already pulled the valve. These are seals. They're kind of oil seals. What they do is they go over the stem, but over the block here, and they kind of hold. That's not one of them. It's down in here where you can't see them. But anyway, it kind of holds everything tight. These were actually on there pretty good. One of the best I've seen kind of hold tight. But they need replaced anyway, and I'm glad I took them apart to do it because, like I said, I'm kind of disappointed on how bad a shape this stuff was in. I'll just grab one, for example. I think I showed you the other day. Oops, that inner spring state. That one intake valve had some spots that weren't hitting all the way around, and after taking all these apart, I don't know if you can see this or not. Maybe you can. I don't know how much glare, if it's going to focus on it or not, because I know cameras like to focus on other stuff. Try to hold this up and make it focus specifically here. But I hope you can see it's got some shiny where it's obviously been hitting, and then it's dead black all the way around, and then back to the shiny spot again. There wasn't any carbon buildup on the valves, but it really didn't make, I'm not saying it wasn't making good contact everywhere, but it wasn't doing like I want. So that was technically this end one, this bottom one, and I have not cleaned these either. I'll do that there at the very end. But this is very, very rough. I mean, it's catching with my fingernails, so there's obviously some stuff still sitting there, but I can actually see those same black, the shiny stuff you see here has made ugly spots in here too. And I could try to show it to you. I might pull you off and have you just kind of take a look at this, just to give you an idea of how bad these are and the reason I'm having to lap these in. I'll just pull you off and show you. And again, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up real good, but let's see if I can get it to focus on it. Come on, not on the green stuff. There you go. I knew you could do it. But these, the shiny spot, this is the intake side. That is where it actually, the valve seat, and you can see it's pitted. That's the exhaust. It's also pitted up pretty bad, and they're pretty much, they all look that way. You can actually see that one was barely touching on the intake side, and the exhaust is again just kind of beat. I know the lighting isn't the best either, but they're all exactly the same, and the valves aren't any better. I think this is the valve I showed you the other day, so let me just grab a different one. No problem. Get you over here where it tries to light in a little bit better. It's not doing very well. Like I said, my light on this side of the shop is not the best. But you can see the dead spots there. They're dark like that, they're not making good contact. Or they've got some deposit on them, and that'll make it not seat very well. That should be touching all the way around. So I have some work to do. It's pretty obvious. All right, now with that said, there's different ways to do this. Obviously take it to a machine shop and have them do it, which will cost you, more money than, I'm gonna put you down just a little bit here. I got you too high that last time. Anyway, they'll charge you X amount of dollars, whether it's a per job, whether it's per hour, or whatever it is. Checking. This is a V6. It's a little shorter than a V8, but in the same token, you really need to clean the surface of these aluminum heads up, and then put a straight edge across here, and then there actually is a number you could use instead of feeler gauges or whatever to see if this thing is warped anywhere. If these things ever got hot in the past, there's a very good possibility of them warping. And then you'll have to take it in there, and they'll take a real light skim cut on these to clean them up. Same with the engine block. They can do that to the engine blocks, even though it's cast iron. The inline 6s are really bad because of the length of them to get warped out of shape a little bit here and there. It's always a good idea to take your stuff to a machine shop if you got the means. And a lot of times I should take stuff in and I don't, and there's times I take stuff in and I shouldn't. So it's really to do it right, and you don't ever want it to give you a problem, to take it to the machine shop and have them do all of it. It's expensive. A lot of that stuff can get expensive. Anyway, I have not cleaned this up, and like I said, the intake runner themselves look really good. As far as there's no oils come through. They look really clean. The exhaust, it wasn't running too fat. It wasn't running too rich, I guess is what I want to say. It actually looked like it was running pretty well. Because there's not a lot of carbon buildup. The oil had been changed. I just didn't like the quality of the oil, which I kind of got into that a little bit on one of the videos. The way it stuck to it and it tarnished up and stuff. And all oils will do that. Don't think I'm just cussing one and one's better than the other. In most cases, though, certain oils do better than others. But the plugs all look like they were the same. The valves all look like they were the same, although they're warped beyond what I like. Everything looks the same in each cylinder. So there was one, I believe it was this other head, that had a little more oil on it. So either the valves had given up, or the actual oil ring had given up and it was sucking a little oil. But anyway, let's get on with this. Lapping, they have a little tool. You get them from AutoZone, most of the parts store, and they're basically it's a hand deal that you can rub with your hand, and it has two different sizes of suction cups on either side. And what the goal was there is you stick it on the valve, and you put the compound on this, and you stick it down in there, and then you rub your hand back and forth, pick it up, and put it back down there, and just keep rubbing back and forth, and that will lap that in. Here's the problem: that won't work on my case because the exhaust valves are concaved, and yes, if I cleaned it up good enough, it might stick to the outside edge. It might not, and the smaller one, obviously, possibly would. These actually need a little bit of cleanup anyway. But I have had bad luck with those, and I cheat a little, but you also have to be careful. Anytime anybody says they cheat, there's a possibility of disaster. So with that said, and this is no different. What I normally do, and you're not going to be able to see anything, but I'll at least stick it together on this end so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Make sure there's no oil on either one, the seat or the valve, where you're going to be putting the compound. That's number one. Number two, the compound has not been opened. I just opened it up. I actually ordered 2 of these tubes, and the other one, they forgot to send it. I don't know what was going on. A little bit goes kind of a long way. Basically, put it on the valve all the way around. This stuff's pretty coarse. I can feel it. Make sure it's just there. You don't want it. You don't want it down there where the valve guide, where it goes up into the guide. All right. So you see, it's not everywhere, but it's good enough for what we're doing. Okay. Now my cheat is turn it upside down a little bit. You can use WD-40. This is Nano brand stuff. There's also there's other brands. Put a little lubricant on the stem. Make sure it doesn't get on your compound. Just make sure it's lubed up. Slide it back in the hole that it came out of. Make sure you're keeping these in order. Now, you know what? I got that in there, and now it feels pretty tight. Oh, wow. I don't know why I did that. Came out easy. Get some stuff out of the way. Okay, you can hear it when it makes that popping sound. It's hit the end. The unfortunate part about it is this is leaning back, and now I have my lubricant is now on the compound, so I can't do this very long. But no, let me turn it back up the other way. Well, I can't do it the other way because the cam's in the way. Anyway, then I take my drill. Put the drill on it, start spinning without being on the compound first, and then just keep bringing it down, touching the, you can't probably hear it because the drill is too loud, and just keep pulling off of it, maintaining a speed, don't keep going fast or slow, just maintain the speed. This is why you got to lube those shafts, because they're riding in your guide. And I'm not telling you have to do it this way. Matter of fact, I'm not even sure you ought to be doing it this way. I'm doing it this way because I'm not taking it to a machine shop. Now we're gonna just do it for a little bit and wipe your compound off, both of them, and kind of see what it looks like. And I can actually, again, I don't know if it's going to focus on this or not. Hopefully you can see what I was doing. Yeah, sort of. I can still see, like I said, I don't know if you're focusing on it or not, but there's still some marks in there. But it is turning it gray, which is what it's supposed to do. And I see a spot that still is not touching. And yes, you may have to do it more than once each time. And you have to do it to every one of them if they look bad. I would recommend, if you're doing it anyway, if you're pulling all the springs and valves out to do it, to put the new seats in, you might as well do this. If one needs it, chances are they all need it. And the older the engine, the more possible damage is done. In this particular case, the damage is into that valve. A little bit of damage, not bad. Let's turn it upside down, take a look at it here. Just see if it's doing anything to the seat. Yeah. Then I'll just do it one more time, just because the valve needed it. And then I'll move on to the next one. So just keep going down the line until they're all done. I'm not going to show you all of them, but you kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. Again, guys, do this at your own risk. I'm an idiot, and I'm doing this because this is how I've always done it. I have not had any failure on it, but you guarantee it's not good on those valve seats guides. It's not good on the guides. They're not designed to have something spin. They're made to go something up and down. The valve does spin a bit, but technically speaking, it's not supposed to spin like that. So make sure you put a good lubricant on it, even a grease if you're really concerned about it. But don't spin it very long. Don't spin it 8,000 RPM. Don't put your die grinder on there and wind it up. That's not going to work. Well, it will, but it won't do anything else any good. So if you notice, I was on 3rd speed, but I was on the variable part. I was actually only running about half trigger or so, and decided that kind of the valve size may make a difference on how fast you spin it. Different compounds will actually kind of dictate how fast you spin it also. The more aggressive it is, the more you can kind of spin it. As it gets a lot thinner, or if it's really hot out where you're at, the stuff breaks down really fast. So you got to be careful of that, because heat breaks that stuff down also. So not only you're cutting up the actual compound itself is very gritty, but you're not only breaking that down as it's spinning, but then the lubricant that's built inside of it, or the stuff that keeps it pasted together, whatever they want to call that, also breaks down pretty quick. And the hotter it is outside, the worse it is. And if your lubricant, like mine did, I sat there and everything's at an angle of lubricant, I could actually see it running out of the valve hole. So you got to be careful there too. So anyway, I'm going to show you when I'm done here. That's just kind of a basic, quick how-to, that you don't have to use that deal to do it. If you've got a drill, just like I said, be smart about it. Don't go into it and just run it for 20 minutes and just it's just you're not going to get anything out of it but more damage. So all right, I'll bring you back here when I'm kind of done with this.